baby, baby. All right, we got a little applause action here. Let's go, producer. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Well, it's a beautiful thing. Man, there's a lot going on in the world of sports and entertainment. It might just be me by myself, but let me tell you something. First and foremost, we've had a lot of losses the past couple of days. We've had Alex Trebek, pretty, this is a major loss when it comes down to, just always improving yourself and learning something new, especially if you were bored with school. So, and his bout with pancreatic cancer, he fought a valiant fight, and it was beautiful to hear that, he spent his last days, or his last day watching the sunset. So God bless his family. Also, we lost a legend today, Boston Celtics, Tommy Heisen. Wow. I mean, Hall of Famer all the way through, a Hall of Fame player, a Hall of Fame coach, and a broadcaster. Um, you know, Definitely a Knicks fan, but you gotta respect the legend of the Celtics, right? Also, you know, today's a big day. I mean, today is the late Big Pun birthday. So we want to give a big shout out to the Terror Squad and Fat Joe and the crew. Also, in the world of music, hold on, there's a lot for me to go over. Man, uh, let's see here. Got a big shout out to before we even go into music. Let's give a big shout out to all our veterans. Tomorrow's Veterans Day is a major. They've been making major sacrifices for us for our freedoms and the fact that we do live in a country. This country may not be perfect, but we are able to exercise our freedom of speech and thought, and so honor our veterans because they sacrifice on a daily basis for us. Also, let's give a big shout out to Biden and Kamala Harris, woman vice president, incoming vice president. But not only is she the first woman, she's the first black woman. Not only is she the first black woman, she's the first East Indian heritage
And West Indian heritage descended from Jamaica. That's right. So big ups. And she's an HBCU grad from Howard University. To all my Bison fans, nothing but love for you guys. I still got love for the Hampton U, the other HU, but you got to represent for the Bison peeps. And of course, she is at AKA, so the pink and green is representing. So it should be interesting. Might be a lot of pink and green during the inauguration ball. We shall see. Today is also Marines Day. So to the Marines, Semper Fi. Woo! If there's one branch of the military that really puts it in, not to take anything away from the other branches, but the Marines are the first in and the last out. So big shout out to the Marines and happy Marine birthday to you. Also want to share, um, we talked about Big Pun in the music business, people who are iconic and that we can never forget. We can never forget Gerald Levert and the crew Levert. Great songwriter, worked with him on an album. Also, Heavy D, this past week has been his passing as well. So, big shout out to Damian Blyden and the crew, Pete Rock, Mount Vernon. Let's talk a little bit about what's coming up next with Versus. Versus has Tribe Called Quest and Outkast. Woo! That's going to be a hot one right there. And let's talk about some business moves that's been happening. First and foremost, let's talk about Beyonce doing a 2-year partnership with Peloton and being able to provide some subscriptions for HBCU uh, students, which is huge, keeping you in shape. You know, At this time, everybody's kind of going virtual. So, what better way than to keep your mind and body active than to have this partnership with Peloton and for Beyonce to be able to donate? You know, she's always had a big heart. So, we definitely represent for the Bayhive, the Beehive. Also, most recently, she was just featured on the British Vanity Fair, uh, which was put together by her publicist Yvette, and it's a beautiful piece. So check it out. Also, Supreme, the clothing line, had just sold for $2.1 billion to VF. VF owns Timberland. They own uh, North Face. They own Vans. They own many different clothing lines, and they just purchased Supreme for 2.1 billion. Big time, y'all. One of my favorite shows that I like to listen to is Drink Champs. My man Nori be putting it down, has always put some great guests together. And most recently, he had Mr. Jay Prince. And if you don't know who Jay Prince is, do your research. Check out Ghetto Boys. Check out Rap A Lot Records from Houston. Man, he put them on the map. He put Texas on the map and the South on the map, put them on their back. And he has a new book out. Actually, he's been out for a while now. The Art and Science of Respect. Go get that book or listen to the audio version because he's bringing in some knowledge, and I'm going to be working on bringing him in on power moves. In addition to that, to diversify his portfolio, he has a new drink line called Loyalty, which is featuring wine, champagne, all types. And speaking of liquors, Snoop has his Go Indago gin that's coming out all throughout all the states. Is going to be rolling out in Florida this month for Thanksgiving. So, put your orders in for that gin. So get your little gin and juice going. And also, we're going to have Danae Burston with La Fête du Rose. It's a rosé that's just smooth, baby. So we can't wait to have him on the show, and I'll be featuring that rosé when we have him on the show. Big shout out to the inductees of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Biggie. That's right. DJ Clark Kent was sponsored by Ciroc, which is Diddy, and Diddy's birthday was just last week, and they did a big style with Biggie and Whitney Houston. We can't forget that Whitney Houston was also inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So that's some good stuff. And tonight, my family, the Warren Treaty, which features Tanya and Mike Trotter performing in Austin. And speaking of some power moves, we got a group called Hignoxis, which basically is a publishing company that's been raising over $1 billion, and they're raising another $1 billion, and they're a publicly traded company buying song catalogs of L.A. Reid, 50 Cent, I mean, you name it, Sting, whole bunch of catalogs, and they're making some major power moves. So check them out, Hypnosis. And we're going to have that CEO and his partner on the show as well. Let's see here. Let's see what's going on. Our guest is running a little late, but he'll be on shortly. Oh, that's right. I can't forget that we have this major Latin artist, young kid. Hold on, I'm gonna tell you about this kid. He's doing it up, and his uncle is a major powerhouse within the industry, Mr. James Cruz, Cruise Control. His kid name is CJ, and he's putting in this work. His song is called Whoopty. 10 million views on. He got 10 million views on YouTube. He got 25 million streams on Spotify, 8 million streams on Apple Music, 28 million streams on TikTok and 300,000 Shazam findings. And this is all grassroots, organic, where the OG James Cruz, the brilliant marketing genius, been behind. Bad Boy Records been behind. Um, Violator Records with Buster, with Missy, with 50. I mean, you name it. And now he's putting all his knowledge into his nephew, Mr. CJ, and they just doing it big, boy. They doing it big. So if you check him out, CJ, he's doing it. The at Check out at real CJ underscore on IG. But guess who just made it in the house? Mr. Korean crossover. Mr. Kevin Carr in the house. What it do, baby? What it do?
Hey man, hey, I'm transition is the word. I literally left a big call with the University of Georgia Athletic Association working on what we call post election reflections, keeping the movement going forward with their athlete population. Now, a lot of people say athletes aren't plugged in as much as they should be. Sports isn't really impacting society as much as it could be in terms of where we're going, character wise, leadership wise. This is not true for this group. I just left a spirited conversation with a bunch of positive, young, emerging, elite athletes that I will tell you got me a little bit late. So my apologies, partner. But I
Oh
was
man, it's
doing some amazing work in the space of diversity, inclusion, equity, and even, where do we go forward post election, right? Now, and it's not over, right?
that's right. That's right.
So so
You know what?
sports can
I want to
impact that.
and you know what? I want to kind of tap into that because you've been working with them. We've been missing you every time you've been going up to University of Georgia, and I've been bigging you up, saying how
Hey
you
man,
doing
I
some,
appreciate it.
how you've been doing some big things with the University of Georgia, and it's pretty incredible because you can make an impact when you plant the seeds within our youth, right? Because when you're in college, that's when you have your growing pains and you start becoming more of an adult because you have a little bit of freedom and you have a little bit more responsibility, especially for these collegiate athletes. So can you kind of walk with us on the type of power moves that you're making with them, in terms of opening up their minds from a D&I diversity and inclusion standpoint?
Well, I will say it. The passing of George Floyd and others before that, Mike Brown and Ferguson, and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, all those had an impact on me as a businessman. I have four kids, two daughters, two sons, and the work that I was doing wasn't exactly, I would say, hitting the mark in terms of what can I do to create change, to impact so none of my children or any other person's children would be impacted like Trayvon Martin was and his parents. So I decided to sort of, after witnessing what the world witnessed with George Floyd, what could my business do? And I started to say, Kevin, you've been a teacher doing diversity and inclusion. Why don't you begin to work with organizations, teams, sports, and I began to build on that. So that's where I saw a huge opportunity to work with the University of Georgia and its athletes. And I'm telling you, it's a fantastic opportunity to work and use sport to impact society because everybody looks at sports,
That's
but
right. That's right.
people don't
Especially
always think sports can change things. And sports is a diversity thing. You don't care about who winning if they can throw that ball down or they can score a touchdown. You don't care what the color of their skin is. So can he play? Yes, the brother can play. Or can the Caucasian man play or the sister can play from overseas? It doesn't matter as long as they can play. And that's what I've been able to use going into diversity is huge. if you don't look at it for other than can they do or are they doing what they say they're gonna do? Black, brown, yellow, etc. And that's what we've been doing. So man, it's positive, super positive work.
Excellent. I love it. I love it. Too bad they lost this past weekend.
There you
You
go.
gonna have to throw that in there. You gonna
Hey,
have to
but
throw that in there.
you know, as long as you play the game, you gonna get beat and you gonna win some. So hey, it comes with the territory. If you think you around here can't get beat on any given Saturday or Sunday, you must be mistaken.
Well, listen, man. Our guest just came
Our
in. I want to
guest
do a
is in the
brief
building.
introduction
Please
to
do.
my man. I've known him for quite some time. I mean,
Absolutely.
this man is. Bottom line, don't take it. Don't take none of this personal. It's just
Nah.
comedy. So this,
Yeah.
let me hit you up. This man has been bringing laughter to the household in many
Absolutely.
different formats. I mean, from BET's Comic View, from HBO's Snap and Def Comedy Jam.
Yes,
He's
sir.
been featured. He's been featured in movies, Sunset Park. Uh, what's the other ones?
It's
Man,
2 minutes to name. 2 minutes.
Yeah, there's a lot going
too
on.
many, too many to name. Brotherly Love.
Yeah, I
Guys,
just say
videos.
he's funny.
Yeah. He's just a funny.
I love
He's just
it.
a funny mother.
Right.
This is my man, talent for money earning Mount Vernon
Money earning.
in the house. What it do, baby? What it do?
Hey, man. Thanks, guys, for having me, man. Just having a good time, man. Just going from point A to point B. Sorry for the little tardiness. I'm not big on tardy, but still in transit. I say, you know what? I gotta be there, though. I gotta log on and do what we gotta do.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you. We know how busy you are, and you definitely keep it moving. And how's the family and how you doing with COVID and making these pivots,
Or
pivot moves.
COVID could kiss my ass. You know what I'm saying? Soon as this is over, I'm getting some T-shirts made. COVID kiss my ass. 2021. 2021. No, but I mean, you know what? COVID. Let me tell you something, bro. I think the first 4 to 6 months we was all on the negative spectrum of COVID. I think after 5, 6 months, it started to filter over to the positive of COVID, which has made us more motivational, more creative. Definitely forced us to come out on the other side better than when we went in. There's a lot of us that thought in our mind that we had it together, that got that wake up call that you didn't have it together as much as you thought you did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So guess what happens when you come to that realization? You put your foot on the gas, you buckle down, and you go into your creative zone. And I'm now looking at it like even if that's a word I use, because it made me move up some stuff on the schedule and get creative and put the flame under it, because it took the attention off of one area in the game, put it on another area. So you had to do all you can do with the given the situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love it. One of the things I try to let people know, this is Kevin Carr. Certainly great to. Now, did you go to Grace Church in Mount Vernon? Did you go to
Grace Baptist, brother. Everybody went to Grace Baptist. Mount Vernon ain't but 4 square miles. So if you lived there your whole life, you done been to all the churches. I was at Grace. I was at Centennial. I was at Macedonia.
Okay.
After 4 churches, I opened up my own church.
I hear you.
And my church is called Our Lady of How to Get Over COVID. I just started.
Excellent, love it. Hey, one of the things that I try to say to people is COVID may have put us under quarantine, but we're never quarantined from opportunity.
Fact.
Right?
That's a fact.
So when did you know you could make money doing jokes, and how did your parents take it?
Well, it's funny. That's an excellent question, because usually I'm telling people that story without the question. That's the first time I got a question close to my answer and example. I didn't. I knew as a kid I was going to end up doing comedy, but as a kid looking at who was doing it, which seemed to be older guys to me, I thought it was a hobby.
Okay.
And in my mind, the plan was do what I do for a living. And when I retire, I always planned to retire early from a regular job or whatever it is I got into, like that 35, 40 range. And then I was going to jump into comedy and do my hobby. I was going to have my pension or 401k or whatever. And then I would, branch out into my hobby, which would have been stand-up comedy. Um, 1990 came along, and Def Comedy Jam kind of bust open the door that for the first time you were seeing on television the younger comics. So I'm like, oh, okay, young comics, I want to do that. And I did it, and even when I started doing, before I got on Def Jam, I started doing it in the real sense, in the comedy clubs, in the comedy rooms. And even when I first started for 9 months, I still didn't realize it was a profession. I thought it was a hobby. Until one day a guy gave me $15 for being on stage. And I lost my mind. It was like he gave me 15,000. I was like, yo, somebody just paid me to do this thing, to make people laugh. And at that point, it clicked. I think I was about 9, 10 months in the game. And it clicked. And I was like, oh. And then I started doing things. Started getting $20 here, $30 here, $50 here. And once I got to the point where people picked me to be the permanent host of their room, I was like, you know what? I had 3, 4 rooms I was hosting. And I got, after a year in it, I was like, I got to make a decision because I'm tired. Physically, it's wearing me out. And I quit the job because I was bringing in about $1,200 a month. And I quit the job. I was like, my rent was $1,000. I'm bringing in $1,200, and I made the leap of faith. And that's when I realized people get paid for this and start respecting.
Wow. That's major. And what's funny, because I didn't even talk about the theme of our show. My partner, Kevin Carr, former executive with the NBA, and he has his company called Pro to CEO with the 9 medallions that stands for champions. And
Okay.
the O in champions is for opportunism. So we're going to talk about how hard was it to make an opportunity in the comedy circuit, and what did you do differently to break through?
To make the opportunity in the thing, to really make a difference, and what I think of consider being called on to do it. It wasn't hard per se. It was more about being in the right places at the right time. Because you can do this thing for an eternity, but constantly be in a not so good place that it don't matter. It's like winking in the dark. That's one of the expressions we use, like a person winking in the dark. Can't nobody see that? So it's about opportunities in the right place in the right time. Like at the time I started in 1991, I just happened to be in the right place geographically because the movement that was about to be was starting in New York. And I happened to be a New York cat. So all I had to do was do my part and put the work in.
Gotcha.
What let me ask you this. We're talking about the strategies here. What did you do? You can hit it big doing comedy and you had that big lick and you happy. But what happens when it gets a little low? What strategies did you use to keep your money flowing strong so you didn't have to go back to the 9 to 5? What was it that made you keep it going? And this is
it's simple numbers. Yeah, it's just simple numbers. You did the numbers. First, you got to do the numbers that dictate, are you doing good enough to quit the job? I had a very nice job. I was managing a warehouse and had nowhere to go but up. And for this young guy in his 20s, early 20s, I was already at $50,000. And that was salaries of real grown men with families. I was this young dude. My first son was on the way. He was in the belly. and I have been over a little over a year maybe in comedy. And I, like I said, physically, I was like, you know what? I'm tired. I got to make a decision because physically, my body's not going to keep getting up at the hours that I have to catch 2 buses to get to work, to come home, 2 buses to come home, to shower, then go hit the comedy scene every night. So once I got those gigs, those regular gigs where I was hosting 4 nights out of the week and giving in 1,200, I'm doing the numbers. I'm like, yo, my rent is 1,000. I'm bringing in 12. That's just with the statue gigs, not with all the extra things that I'm getting involved with. So I quit there. Then I think the most motivating thing was when I did my taxes and did the numbers for 1 year in comedy. 1 year in.
Oh man, he left us with a cliffhanger.
$84,000. It was 83.8. I'm coming from just under 50.
All right, hold up. You rewind that because you got cut off.
You did the Zoom skip, brother.
You was in the dead zone.
Yeah, you know what it is. Yeah, dead zone. I'm on a bridge, so probably hit a dead zone. But once I did the numbers of the first year, that was my motivation to keep going because, again, I'm leaving a job with benefits and everything just under $50,000 a year. My first year in comedy, just under 84,000, 83.8, I think it was.
Okay.
So now mind you, I still haven't touched TV yet.
Right.
This is just my regular club hosting, couple of hired gigs, but this is my first year that I'm nervous because I got a baby on the way and I'm about to jump out the window. And for me to bring in 84,000,
incredible.
I'm looking back at this legit job like, yo, I got to put full energy in this now.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And I never looked back.
That's what's up. So, it's funny you talk about that because, we're going to go into our power segment going into, we got to go on break at 8:30 in the next 2 minutes. But, I want to tap into within the next 2 minutes, man, the king of New York comedy.
That's a fact.
I think, and
that's not even debatable no more.
Right.
Exactly.
Because you put in the work.
Yes, sir.
Because you was everywhere. Like when we brought artists and folks in the music, I mean, you was everywhere. You was
everywhere.
You were freaking if there was a music album release party, you was there. But then after that, you had your own gig. And it was like, after this party, we're gonna go check our talent here. And he was here, and he was here, and he was here, and it was just a beautiful thing.
Yes, sir.
Where did that motor come from to hustle up? Like you said, that first year you made like 83 G's. You know what I'm saying?
I think
a lot of that was tax write-offs, right?
Exactly. I think I could attribute that to I owe a lot to the hip hop love I got. You know what's funny? Karma is real because I grew up coming out of high school, the biggest supporter of hip hop, right? I loved it. I mean, my era, I graduated in 87. So the whole LL, Rakim, MC Shan, Juice Crew, Biz Markie, Big Daddy Kane, Cool G Rap, like that, De La Soul. I grew up loving that. And the funniest thing is when I popped on the scene, my biggest supporters was hip hop, the rappers, the music industry. So the first people outside of traditional comedy that tapped into talent was rappers. If you look at the videos, Grand Puba, Brand Nubian, Moke and Steph, Heavy D, Cannabis, Wyclef, Fugees. When you look into all of these videos and different things, they were my greatest supporters that tapped in back into me. So whether I was doing a hit on somebody's album, appearance in somebody's video, or just them coming to wherever I am to support, they put that battery in my back. Because
hold that thought, talent, because we got to pay our bills. It's 8:30.
We
Okay.
be back in 2 and 2. You know how that is. You did radio. You do radio. We be back. Let's pay our bills.
Yeah. Take it out, Ed Ski.
All right. All right, DJ producer. Put us on break, baby.
Come on, DJ CEO on the ones and twos.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard, so you don't need to start foraging wild berries.
I was skeptical, but these are actually pretty good.
You don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
You just need FeedThePig.org. Don't get left behind. Get tips and tools at FeedThePig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all gotta see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Hey, this is Dr. V, and you're listening to In Touch Radio, reality radio where everyone's a star. Don't you move.
When it comes to reality radio, everyone is a star.
Shining star for you to see what your life can truly be.
On your smooth soul and R&B station.
On the World Wide Web.
In Touch Radio.
Following up with my partner in crime, Mr. Kevin Carr, Mr. Career Crossover, and partner in crime, the king of New York comedy, Mr. Talent in the
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mount Vernon.
Ernie.
What it do, Kevin? What you got for him, baby?
Man, you know what? I want to know where Talent got the name Talent. Can you give me a little break off on that? And then I got part 2 to that one. Part 2.
Absolutely. Coming up in high school. In high school back in the day, you had to have a name, for things, right? So I was into a bunch of stuff at one time. I was into the graffiti, the breakdancing, the hip hop, the music, baseball, basketball, football. So I had to come up with a nickname that kind of encapsulated everything all together. A name that says you do everything, so that the name don't just fit one thing and then it don't fit the other. And that happened to be Talent. You know what I mean? It just meant everything. So I came up with that in high school. Plus, I had to be able to come up with a name that I could write in graffiti, because I wasn't good at certain letters.
Hey, Talent, you known as one of the taller brothers. How tall are you, man?
6'6".
Hey, you can really see that on TV, because everybody else a little short on TV. But you always came across as like the Kareem of comedy on that height.
Well, thank God, man. You're the first person to tell me that. Like, when I meet people that only see me on TV, they're like, man, you taller than I thought. I'm like, yo, your TV's little.
Hey, I love it. Hey, how did you, when people talk about finding their power, how did you discover your comedy power? Like, how did you know you was like funny and it was going to be a power move for you?
You don't know till you jump out the gate, right? So jumping out the gate, let's say I knew I was funny. Until you get out there, it goes through phases, right? It's like, okay, I'm funny. I make the people around me laugh. But it's a ball game when you stand on the stage and the light's on you and you got a microphone and making a room of strangers laugh. Your friends laugh all day because they know you and you're funny to them. But can you make the strangers laugh? Then the next thing is, how long can you keep them laughing? Can you consistently make them laugh? You know what I mean? Then the third and final thing, which is probably the most important, is when you see yourself put up amongst others. So in other words, you get to see yourself, you're funny up against other funnies. Like people you may say, oh, that guy's really funny. He's blah, 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 whatever. Until you get up next to him and go, damn, he's not as funny as me.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So it's different funny. It's different phases to it. But I think for me, that last part, when I see myself up against some of my idols, and they either was nervous, scared, or straight just hating or envious of me, that's when I said I recognize my funny power.
Mm. That's great because what people aren't getting, Joel, and I'll let you jump in, is he said great things. He found his strength. He sustained it. He knew he can I keep him laughing, and then he got compared to the expert because he was an expert. See, people, if you don't understand how to get there, you'll never get there. Even though he's talking about comedy, he's talking straight business and strategy. Go ahead, Joel.
I'm telling you, I'm loving it because it's all about evolution, right?
Mm-hmm.
Evolution, and also not being afraid to be around people who are better than you,
Right.
and just holding your own because it's all about the competition. So with that being said, you know what keep I mean, because you've been doing this for quite some time and you're
Mm-hmm.
at the top of your game. What keeps you grounded? Because you got a lot of influence. You've been bringing a lot of other folks on and things of that nature.
Right.
What made you do it, and how do you keep grounded?
Well, what keeps me grounded, to be honest with you, is good friends, the people you're around. You always got to surround yourself around the right camp. So between the camp that I surround myself around and my dogs, like something simple like dogs, like when I come home, when you're always out, you're always around people, you're always in the element of a crowd. The biggest thing is you want to come home to not a crowd. Now you want to come home to the opposite of a crowd. You want to go to your house. Your house should be a tranquility. You know what I mean? It should be that thing that brings it all down, level of peace. It's the equivalent to like Russell Simmons doing yoga. I'm not doing yoga. You know what I mean? Yoga just not a good look. I'm not. You don't disrespect the Russell and Negroes that go and do yoga, but I'm not sitting in the Indian squat, closing my eyes, trusting the universe like that. Um, so for me, is my dogs. I go home to 5 dogs. Dogs have what we call unconditional love. People always think they're capable of it, but it's not really in our nature. Our love is conditional, believe it or not. So my dogs are the epitome of unconditional love. You know what I mean? So that right there alone is a continued driving force. When you come home, you want to be tranquilized, man. You want to be brought down to that element of relaxation at its highest level. Nobody likes what they do all the time when they're supposed to be on their downtime. The dude that worked the fries at McDonald's, you can't buy this Negro no fries. He fried up. You still think the fries are delicious. You're like, yo, get you some fries. I want that shit. Yeah, excuse my friend. He don't want no fries. He been around these fries 24/7.
Yeah.
He don't eat the fries no more. So it's like that. When you're around people 24/7, you live for those moments when you're not around people like that. And you're not people, because when I'm around people, they pretty much, they own me. You know what I mean? They pay for me to be there. It's on me to appease them and please them and show up and show out. So when I'm not, I clock out. So that's where my friends come in handy. You surround yourself around a good clique of people, man. And when I get around my friends, dude, my friends funny as hell. You wouldn't even, if you walked up and didn't know who nobody was, you wouldn't know I was the comedian. Put it that way.
That's good. That's good.
Nah, that's real. I mean, that's real right there. I think what you tapped into a lot of times, um, people take celebrities for granted, and they
Yeah.
don't understand that they need that downtime. Like they can't always be on. When people get upset, like, yo, how come I can't get the autograph? I was like, that's why I'm so happy I'm not a celebrity. I'm friends
Right.
with them.
You got the best. You got the best position.
Behind the scenes, baby.
Yep.
Behind the scenes.
You the man behind the man.
So true.
Go
So
ahead,
true.
Kev. What you
Hey,
got, bro?
so you know what's really awesome talent is
Yes.
you heard the pun awesome talent. You know I'm blowing you up. Can you share how you got your break or what breaks got you to be able to take advantage of the opportunity which led to you blowing up in comedy? What breaks did you get? Everybody has something that they can kind of think, one or two moments that say, man, I
Well,
got that.
you got a couple. I think everybody. You're right. Everybody do have that. But I think that. How you doing, darling? I think that for a fact that for me, it was a couple of things. I grew up in the Money Earned Mount Vernon projects, and in my projects, you got to realize, I lived in one building, and JB Smooth lived in another building.
Mm-hmm.
So JB Smooth was the guy that first put me on stage, first of all.
Oh yeah.
So for JB Smooth, he had got on the first round of Def Jam. So right away, him walking around the project saying that he was a professional comedian, he got the respect from the hood. Me with no TV credits, I would say the same thing, but people didn't give me the respect of that. Like, they didn't believe that. They didn't treat me like that. They was like, yeah, right. You know, comedian. I was like, no, I asked JB. They was like, you did Def Jam? I'm like, nah. They was like, shut up. Right? So, I mean, the hood is real. The hood is real. It is what it is. So what ended up happening for me, I ended up getting picked the next season to do Def Jam. But because of some of my material, conflict of interest, I got kicked off. I never ended up taping. And this how karma is dope. God let me book Showtime at the Apollo. I booked Showtime at the Apollo and got a standing ovation. And that tape, that TV appearance and that TV tape catapulted my career. That started me being recognized as a force and a bona fide comedian. Then the hood started to kind of take notice because everybody watched Showtime at the Apollo. I didn't know, you couldn't write that. I didn't know that that was going to be the thing. You know what I mean? I didn't know that that was going to be the show or the set that make me who I am or get my name out there for the first place. Then directly after that, you know, I had to change up some stuff. Like I said, that didn't let me make Def Jam. I changed it up and I made it the next season.
That's what's up.
So you got that. You got that as number one. You got Def Jam as number two. You got Heavy Rotation from Comic View number three. And then you got Sunset Park that just, it was over after that.
Yeah, Sunset Park.
So, you know, it's funny and stuff. I'm always meant to ask you, did you ever get an endorsement deal from Heineken?
I did. I did. You know what's crazy? I was probably one of the first dudes to get some money from somebody doing something like that. I was getting money because we remember back then when I started, MySpace was the big thing.
Yes.
And yeah, and my business manager was like, he was like, yo, I got Heineken on the thing. Keep holding the Heineken. Because back in the day, if you gotta really pay attention and go back to realize that it bounced from Budweiser to Heineken. People that really remember the bottle being brown at first and then going to green. And it didn't matter to me because it was just a brew. You know what I mean? It was a beer, but then my business manager kicked in and was like, yo. He was like, no, keep it green. I'll tell you why later. So I kept with the green, and then he came back and was like, yo, I got Heineken to give us some money. They're going to sponsor it, blah, blah, blah. We just got to put it up on the MySpace and all that and everything. I was like, oh, okay. So the crazy thing about that, Murphy's Law, what can go wrong will go wrong. Soon as I get locked into Heineken in New York City, I get booked on all these weekly rooms, these after-work spots, and they're all sponsored by every beer but Heineken. So here's how I lost the shit, right? So I'm in these places and I'm fighting. I'm like, yo, I'll do your thing. I'll shout the beer out, but I'm getting paid behind. I got to hold a Heineken. So I swear to goodness, I think one night was Coors Light, one night was Budweiser. And each time the dude was like, well, what are they paying you a month? And I told them, and they paid me that for the night. What I was making in sponsor money, we talking G's. They was like, we're going to give you that for the night. Just make sure you don't hold no other beer. And I was like, all right. And that shit went on for a couple of years till I got caught. By the time I got caught, the dollars made sense.
Oh my God.
Let's talk about respect. When it comes down to your family's everything, man. You got a
Yes.
whole bunch of kids. I mean,
Yes.
what is it like being a comedic father, and you got to do the switch up when your kids is like you know we all are parents here, and when we look at our
Right.
kids and they do some silly stuff, you like, damn, I did the same thing, but you know you still got to whoop that. You know what? What was that like for you?
Well, you know what's crazy? Most of my kids, most of their childhood, they don't know. The kids don't really get privy to it and understand what's going on till they get around that 10 o'clock age. Once they get around 10, you know, they're a lot nosier. You know, little things like, I'll never forget my daughter, my youngest daughter, who's now 14. I'll never forget when she was about 9, and she's sitting with me in the barbershop, and I'm not thinking none of it, but all my shows, the flyers would be in the barbershops.
Right.
So she picks this flyer up, and you don't think none of this. I swear to God, this never crosses your mind like that. And she's staring at this flyer. And she came over to me like we were supposed to sue the barbershop because my picture. Yo, this is real. She came over to me like, Daddy, look at this. What is this? I said, oh, baby, that's a flyer. She said, yeah, but they got your picture on it. And I'm like,
she about that business.
Right. I'm like, yeah, you know, that's a show coming up, blah, blah. And she's sitting there with the mean mug for like 40 minutes. Like, I'm waiting, this dude's getting their haircut. And she's like, I don't understand how they able to put you. It wasn't until we riding home and I explained to her, and our mom's in the car, like, you know, that's a show, that's what your father does, and blah, blah, blah. So that's how, I got 6 kids. That's how they all was up until the age of 10. Now, the irony of it is, my oldest son, Talent, who I named Talent, is on his 3rd year in comedy.
Oh, wow.
And he is, on year 3, he's way better than I was on year 5.
Oh, wow.
And that's a fact. Like, so he's been making me proud for the last 3 years doing this thing. We actually had 2 shows in Florida. We just came back from that. We got a couple more shows this month, 3 shows next month. But, you know, I made a point, because you know how kids are. Sometimes they'll do things just to do it. So when he jumped into comedy, I didn't take it that serious. I was like, well, come back a year later and talk to me and I'll help you. Like right now, just go out there and bump your head. And he did that. Out of respect, he did that. And when he came back a year later, he was so good and so advanced. I was like, you know what? I have no choice but to forget helping him. I got to throw him on stages. Like he don't really need as much help as he needs stages right now.
Wow. That's awesome.
So how does it make you feel that your legacy is passing on and this becomes like a family business now?
Oh, I love it. You know what the dopest thing about it is? If you go to my social media, you'll see the one thing that COVID has did is turn my I'm a merchandise mogul yet now. You know, I used to sell shit here and there, but I'm a merchandise mogul right now, right?
Okay.
And the dope thing I like about it, anything that has my name on it, I look at it like when he wears, I tell him all the time, yo, wear it, because that's your name. That's my nickname, and that's your name. I'm like, so it don't matter that I made it. When you wear it, it's officially like, to me, when I look at him in my T-shirt and it say, it's just comedy talent, it's more authentic on him than me.
Right.
That's real.
Wow, we gotta know what you selling, because you got a whole nother line of revenue streams. How did you diversify? What did you do to think through that and get there?
Well, bro, let me tell you something. I was one of the first dudes to get into the T-shirt business. because what happened was while people were selling DVDs and all that, what I noticed from T-shirts from day one is they don't come back. There's no return. DVDs and CDs come back. Yo, this joint don't work. Blah 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 blah. T-shirts never came back. So I stayed with T-shirts for 20 years. I wouldn't be consistent with it, but I do it, and I stop, then I bring up another one, and I stop. So when I found my old logos and started really paying attention to making my logos permanent, I got into it. So then from T-shirts, I went to hoodies because the weather would change, and I would find that maybe your sales slow down when it's cold out. Maybe nobody wants to buy a T-shirt because they want to be seen in it. It's not hot out. So that's okay. Let's get some sweatshirts. Let's get some hoodies. So I got the DVDs. I got that stuff. When COVID hit, me and my partner always talked about getting different things that people like for souvenirs. You know, pins and bags and just different things people use every day, but with the logo on. So I'm sitting back. COVID happens. I say, you know what? It just so happened to hit when I had to shut everything down. The quarantine happened right after a big order came in. So I'm sitting on 5 dozens of hoodies, 10 dozen of T-shirts. So while I go on social media, I start making up these shows and being on a lot every day. And I'm like, while I'm wearing it, people start hitting me. So how could I get that shirt? A spot. How could I get that? So light bulb went off like, yo, people keep asking, keep inboxing. So now I start talking about, hey, you want a shirt? Hit me up in the inbox, blah, 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 whatever. And the more I got people respond, I'm like, yo, the response is crazy. So I call my man. As soon as they start slowly opening things back up, hey, man, I'm going to need another order. I need T-shirt. Boom. Okay, got cold. I need hoodies. Boom. And I'm like, so somebody came to me. It's funny because somebody came to me, Ted Carpenter from Def Comedy Jam, called me one day and said, T, he had just done a show with me a month before in Harrisburg. And he said, yo, I got a hookup on the mask. He said, the COVID thing going on. He said, I can get you a bunch of masks, cheap price. I thought of you, he said, because the way you were selling that merch in Harrisburg, he said, I can't really move merch. He said, but you was doing it, man. You might want to get these masks. It's going to be for a while. I'm not usually wrong about a lot of stuff. I was like, you know what? I said, yo, my optimistic self was on some. First of all, Ted, I don't think it's going to be this problem that long. I think 3-4 months, we're going to get it together with this COVID, and it don't make sense. That was one. But two, I was like, my slogan, I don't want to see it on a mask because this mask thing is the difference between life and death. So I was like, I don't feel comfortable with something so serious, life and death, saying it's just comedy on it. You know, so I passed on it. That was in March, April. Fast forward, he was right. The mask thing took off. I started seeing people jazz them up. And Louis Vuitton mask, Gucci mask, this mask, logo, this, everybody, NFL, NBA, baseball, everybody started putting their logo. I'm like, okay. But I still had to get creative. Like, I still don't want it to say it's just comedy. So I had to look through my logos and grab the logo that I was comfortable with is the logo you see on my shirt. It's just Comedy Jam. See this logo here on the shirt?
Yeah, we see it.
This is this logo here on the shirt. It's just Comedy Jam. It's a takeoff of the Def Comedy Jam, but it's my slogan inside the same thing. It says it's just Comedy Jam. And I was like, you know what? That's not saying straight up it's just comedy. It's a thing, like it's just Comedy Jam. I said that makes more sense on the mask. So I came out. So let me tell you where I'm at right now. This is why I say merchandise mogul. Not only do I have the mask, I got the hoodie, I got the T-shirt, I got the compact mirrors in 3 colors for the ladies. I got the chapstick, the lip balm. I got pins. I got lighters. I got flasks. I got towels.
You got panties?
I got panties.
Victoria's Secret joints? It's just comedy, son.
All that. I got shot glasses. I got coffee mugs. I got sip cups. I got champagne glass, wine glasses, champagne glasses, thermoses. I got the snapback hats. I got the It's Just Comedy snapback hats in red and black. Dude, it goes on and on and on. last month was Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I had the pink limited edition hoodies come out for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I only did 3 dozen. 2 dozen are gone already. Selling those joints. You know what I mean? Like, so now that's the thing now.
Mm-hmm.
Talking to y'all on the phone, I'm looking at 2 or 3 hits, driving over here to Queens, like, yo, how could I get a mug set? How could I get this? How could I get that? So my day, other than my shows that I do virtually and walking the dogs and doing my regular rigmarole errands, one of my big things is going to the post office 2-3 times a week.
Love it.
Now, as soon as this thing open back up, I'm gonna do it the right way. I'm gonna get the assistants in order, get the shipping place, put it in the warehouse, because we ship from Mount Vernon, we ship from Buffalo, and we ship from Rochester, New York. But when I tell you that's a killer thing right there, and it's crazy, it's taking off.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So we gonna wrap up. What is the future of entertainment in your opinion, as you've experienced this and have you brought in your portfolio? What do you see as next?
Well, remember how I said earlier, all COVID did is speed up the inevitable. It speeded up the inevitable on a hard restart level. So what I've been saying for the last 10 years that was going to happen, let's take comedy, for instance, and entertainment. I said that there was going to be a big weeding out. The cream was going to rise to the top. The comics that ain't really doing it for people, they're not really caring for, they're going to slowly start to phase out. There's going to be a resurgence. People are going to focus on what's hot and get rid of what's not. And I think COVID sped that process up. So I think soon as things open back up to any type of normalcy, guys and girls that people gravitated to in a heavy sense, they're going to be out there at work first and foremost.
Right.
So I think we'll get back to some sense of normalcy, because even working during COVID, I've worked in some situations that wasn't that far off of normal. I mean, other than the oversaturation of hugging and no mask on and social distancing, the entertainment part of it is not that far-fetched.
Right. What you got, Kev?
Well, I want to make sure. So you define with your business, with your new stream of income, is what I call most people passive income, meaning it's Swiss money. You can sell it while you sleeping. Sales while I sleep soundly. So I want people to know that you can diversify, and you can do that too if that's something that you want to do. But COVID has also shown us we need to have diversification. So I appreciate you. How can we reach you, talent? I want to first thank you for being authentic with your talent, because I used to watch you. I'm from Florida, and I used to watch you before I moved to New York City and worked for the NBA. I used to watch you from afar. So I really admire your work over the years. It's been very great, very therapeutic. When I see you, I know I'm gonna get a good show. So I appreciate you for that. But how can we continue to consume you? Your media, website,
and get your merch, baby, and get that merch, baby.
Hey, Kev, I appreciate that, man. That when people tell me that, it sounds light on your end, but it's heavy on my end, because you work so hard. You live for those instant gratifications and accolades that push you to keep driving. People need to know that I'm on all my platforms every day. I created 6 or 7 different shows. Motivation Monday, I'm on 3 times a day on every Monday on different platforms, letting people know to stay motivated. I'm on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with my show called Divided States of America, which is a political news show. I'm on Friday with Race Debaters, where we put all our racial issues on the table. I'm on Sundays with Sunday Stories and Soundtracks with a comedian out west, Italian brother called Rocco. And from a black and white perspective, and the guys that toured together for 20 years, we just give all types of stories: behind the stage, backscene, green room, on the road, real life, everything from sex and religion. We do that on Sundays. Friday, Saturday nights, I pop on to do all types of fun stuff with the music. But I'm on all my platforms. On Twitter at It's Just Comedy. On Instagram, Talent the Comedian with a D. Talent the Comedian. And on Facebook, King Talent Harris. All three platforms you can catch me on any given day, man. Go check those platforms out. I post everything. It has times on it. You know when I pop on and pop off and all that. And the merch, you can order the merch on any of those platforms in the inboxes. By email, talent@itsjustcomedy.com. Get you a hoodie, man. Be like me. Be fly. Look how fly it. Look at that. Look how fly it.
I gotta send you my address so I can get mine. I know
I got you.
Got to send you that.
I got you. I got you. Say less, baby. Thank y'all for having me, man. Real talk.
Thank you, talent. It's been real, and you have a great night.
Respect.
Once again, this is Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. Another great night. See you later, baby.